Valve just dropped some big news on all of their players, but before we go into this, it's been confirmed by Mark Laidlaw and other old Valve employees that Viktor Antonov has passed away at 52. Viktor was an art director and conceptual artist who worked at Valve, most notably on Half-Life 2. You may even remember Viktor as the first to talk in the Half-Life 2 anniversary documentary.
I went to check it out last night, and it happens to be completely destroyed and under construction again. And it just goes back, luckily, coincidentally, to the exact same state where I shot it 25 years ago, actually.
The TF2 SDK is here, which should allow creators to build completely new games based on TF2. This is a huge deal for any TF2 fan, as this SDK gives mod makers the ability to change, extend, or rewrite TF2, making anything from small tweaks to complete conversions possible. This wasn't it though, as Valve even updated their other old multiplayer source games, which includes Team Fortress 2, Day of Defeat source, Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, Counter-Strike source, and Half-Life Deathmatch source. They all got 64-bit support, scalable UI, and a bunch of other improvements that came with it. Each game has their own individual patch notes with different fixes. Some of them are pretty long too, like Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, which shows the effort Valve puts in even to 20-year-old games. Now, in the SDK, some people have spotted Episode 3 codes. Some is new, while other parts may have been there before. But some of the things you can see include an armored combine NPC, a city scanner with a weapon, and a prototype for a different weapon which had penetrating projectiles and a sonar-like detection system. Hopefully we get more details on what Valve planned for Episode 3 when they release the new Raising the Bar later this year. That said, in a recent update, HLX has been directly mentioned once again. This comes in the recent Dota 2 Wandering Waters update, where HLX has been directly mentioned once again multiple times. This wasn't the only indication of HLX from the recent updates, as there was also AI optimizations that allow for AI behavior to be scaled for performance or distance reasons. And I'm sure if you are watching this channel, you already believe in HLX, but this just shows that Valve is still actively working on the project. Recently, Valve has released an update to Portal to fix a startup crash on the Linux client. This updated Portal to the new Source engine version from the Half-Life 2 anniversary. This was meant to bring minor engine improvements, but this caused a few different issues, like when you would load into the map Escape 02, you would crash. There were a few other problems, like how Portal would check for workshop content even though it has no workshop. So Valve quickly rolled the update back the very next day, as players couldn't even finish the game. They also released an update for Half-Life 2 just a few days earlier, which fixed a Linux crash on launch and some localization changes. Valve also released a Linux client crash fix for Left 4 Dead 2 and Portal 2 just 1 week before this. While we are talking about Portal 2, for the past few days there have been a lot more players than usual. You can see from the SteamDB player count for the past 3 months that it would go from around 2,000 players upwards to around 5,000. But from the start of February, the player count just kept rising to where it's now sitting at 10,000 players a day. Of course, this isn't an all-time high for Portal 2, but it is the all-time high for the last 12 months. Apart from other updates like Valve finishing Crownfall and adding the archive, Valve has made some nice changes to CS2. Of course, we are now in Season 2, but in the recent update, Valve has changed the rare inspect animation for the AK-47, making it more natural compared to its previous version. But they also increased the size limit for the workshop to 3 GB, so we should see bigger maps, which hopefully means cash will be on the workshop soon. Today's video is powered by ClashGG, the only place you need to go if you want to dive into case battles. If you use my code WATERCS, you will get 3 free cases, so use my link down below. They also have new game modes like Tiles or Crash for you to test your luck. Deposit with your favorite crypto, cards, or skins, and then cash out your winnings instantly with any crypto or skins. Don't forget the free reigns that are random drops for you to get even more rewards. Claim your 3 free cases on clash.gg with code WATERCS today. Now, one thing that should be pointed out is some new Valve app has been spotted and is now being tracked on SteamDB along with its server. They are 3488080 and 3488100. It's unknown exactly what these app IDs are for, but they both first appeared on January 23rd and have been getting updated since. This happened right after Valve decided to hide the private branches for all of their other games. It definitely is a bit interesting and makes you wonder what these new app IDs could be for. Of course, everyone would love for it to be HLX, but with it having its own server, is that really what these app IDs are? Or could it be some new game they're planning, maybe for the Deckard? I've even seen some speculate that it could be for Dota 2, but the reality is we don't know exactly at the moment, so I wouldn't get too excited until we learn more details about them. It appears like Valve is finally starting to make their Source 2 games unplayable on old operating systems like Windows 7 and 8. This was already in place since the start of 2024, but Valve still lets you play these old games with old clients that let you use these operating systems until recently. So far, Dota 2 and Deadlock have both been updated where their minimum client version is now the January 28th, 2025 Steam version, rather than one from a few years ago. Also, on February 15th, Valve stopped supporting the macOS Catalina. Valve also implemented a new change to early access games, giving a warning to players if it hasn't been updated in the last 12 months or longer. So you won't just be left in the dust if a dev abandons a game. In some other news though, a game called Pirate 5 pushed out an update on Steam. But the thing is, it contained some malicious malware, so any users who played the game with this update received this warning, letting them all know about the situation and to check their machine for any remaining malware. Sandbox has come up with some big announcements recently, including the fact that they want to give money to those who create a game or map. They are currently working on it, but just setting up all the different payment providers. But this wasn't it. As Gary also explained, our intention is to let people create games with Sandbox and export them as standalone games, which can then be distributed on Steam. For this to be possible, we need Valve's permission, since it's built on their engine. This means they need to update the license agreement we have with them. They've done that and are in the final stages of checking it over. I'm hopeful that we'll have it this month. Once that's signed, we'll need to work with our own lawyers to make our own license. This should be simple, as it will be giving you permission to do whatever you want as long as you don't blame us for anything that goes wrong. This will give you full reign to make your own games with Sandbox and then export it, as they have been making improvements to it with a constant flow of new changes. Going on by saying our first offering will be an automated algorithm-based system where you receive money based on the amount of players playing your game. This will be funded from skins/game purchases. The games won't be pay to play. So seeing as there is no Source 2 SDK, at least for the moment, you can use the custom Sandbox version instead, which is technically C# combined with Source 2 and some of its systems. The thing is, Sandbox is still in its developer preview. It hasn't even officially released yet, so it will be exciting to see what comes from it.